Okay, welcome back to the Downtown Den, and today we're doing the latest in our Meet the Member series. We've got Simon Harris, who's the Group CEO of Avrenim. So Simon, welcome to the Den.
Thank you, Frank.
It's fabulous, isn't it?
Pleasure to be here.
People wonder what goes on in this place. The magic, honestly, they wouldn't be able to get their heads around it. Simon, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the conversation, tell us briefly what Avrenim does.
So Avrenim are a full-service provision within the built environment as a tagline. And what does that really mean? So we in-house cover all of the REBA stages from 0 to 7. For listeners that don't know, that's the Royal Institute of British Architects from I've got an idea all the way through to I'm operating and maintaining that building, whatever it might be. So our current portfolio consists of being able to take an idea, design that to a fully developed stage, then we can package it up, deliver that installation, and then we can maintain it. And that ranges from net zero focused activities, decarbonisation, energy efficiency, through to repurposing general admin hospital space to theatre suites and everything in between.
So as company that is clearly geared up towards delivering on this huge net zero agenda that everybody is talking about, green, net zero, sustainability, it's all you hear local governments, national politicians talking about. You must be absolutely inundated with inquiries and flooded with work.
Well, in theory, you would think so. I mean, there's a number of challenges around that. Obviously, cost-benefit analysis, the level of support centrally from central government, where, again, we can talk about Brexit and what the EU are doing and what that's affected funding and so on. So is industry beating down my door or other organizations like us? Nope. We're having to do an educational piece as well. Some people don't really understand. They go from conversations around, I want to be off grid. And again, you look at the energy crisis, that changed things massively as well. We saw typical payback periods, and again, advances of technology and so on support this, but you were looking at 11, 12, 13 plus years. Massively then dropped because of the price of utilities went through the roof to down to 3, 4, 5 years. So it was a much more compelling argument. And there were people out there at the time around the energy crisis and the funding was starting to tail off, saying, well, okay, how do you compel industry to do something that really they don't want to do? And you're removing the funding and support to make that happen. You can let the energy price skyrocket, so then there's a commercial advantage to doing it as well. So we work through those challenges. So typically, we will turn up at a customer site. We will evaluate how they use the building. What is the building constructed of? Is it a leaking sieve? I'm exaggerating now, but again, levels of insulation, roof insulation, windows, doors, these things. So again, you're minimizing what your actual energy burden is before you then throw in the technical solution. Yeah, and again, some customers just want solar. Yeah, that's it. But we build that menu choice option that says, do all these things, this is where you get to. And the difference for us is because we design it, deliver it, and then maintain it, we will underwrite it performance.
Okay. So if there is a company out there who are sort of scratching their head around this agenda, want to get engaged, but are looking at it thinking this might just be a bit hard, you're the sort of person to speak to because you can talk them through all of those options.
Yeah, we understand all of the technologies available. We can give a really detailed, massively in-depth technical solution and then boil that down into this is what it means. We've done things ranging from pharmaceutical organizations trying to build on their heat recovery and their water consumption. So again, we've built air source heat pump options, which are very carbon friendly compared to burning gas, to minimize the impact from a carbon perspective, but then also drive energy efficiency by reconfiguring systems and so. So again, it's not always just about throwing a big chunk of new tech at something. It's about how you're utilizing it and that process efficiency.
And I guess the thing that you are very conscious of is cost. And it's the fact that businesses are looking at cash flow as much as anything else.
Yeah. And, the green revolution, as I think Sakir referred to it during his campaign, that has driven the cost down. You look at the technology that, whether it be solar panels or heat pumps, costs have come down. Not massively, but again, from a solar panel perspective compared to 20 years ago, the yield you're getting from that panel as well has massively increased. Yeah.
GB Energy, is that going to be the sort of silver bullet that some government ministers are suggesting it will be in terms of this net zero agenda?
I have to be honest, I'm yet to be convinced personally. From what I've seen, from the research I've done, it appears that it is going to be an investment vehicle. Now, does that really solve the issues that are out there to drive that net zero technology? Not really. You look at our aging infrastructure within electrical. Just take that as an example. The DNO, which is who you have to apply to if you want to put a solar installation onto a building of a certain capacity, they control how that grid operates, and they are quite within their rights to go, no, you can't do that. Or they will restrict your generation. And, we've seen that a number of great schemes that will deliver great benefit either need massive infrastructure investment for the DNO, or they'll say, yeah, that's brilliant, you can energize it in 10 years' time. How does that help anybody? And it's very frustrating for investors. We speak to investors as well. For some of these big schemes, you're into multi-million pound developments that make sense commercially, as well as supporting the green energy agenda. And they get hugely frustrated as well. Some of these investment houses have billions available, earmarked for only green initiatives, and you come to them with a great scheme and they say, yeah, we'll back that, we'll design it, we'll go through planning and so on. And as part of that planning process, the DNO goes, sorry. Hugely frustrating and massively missed opportunities. And, we've also worked on schemes where we've said, oh, actually, we don't need to go into the grid because the demand is already there. And it's still a blocker.
Well, and maybe, GB Energy might not be the silver bullet, but combined with the planning reforms that Angela Rayner and her department are talking about, everybody's inevitably looked at housing as being the thing that department wants to drive forward. And of course, it's part of it, but I'm sure these are the sort of issues that they need to take up as well. If you were to get an audience with Sakir or Ed Miliband, who's heading this particular agenda for the government, what would you be asking of them?
Sort the infrastructure.
And the infrastructure is the key thing.
The infrastructure is the key thing. You can throw as much money as you want, really, at building localized infrastructure for organizations. So if we take logistics, massive roof space, perfect for flooding with solar, you could create mini solar farms in these new logistics hubs that have been sprouting up over the last 15 years or so. You take Manchester, the M62 corridor, it's full of them. Perfect for doing this kind of thing, but the infrastructure won't take it.
Okay. So infrastructure investment is the key.
Okay. And I've got a contact in an energy company. I won't name any names, but they've also got smart resource problems. People that I used to do this thing. there is a shortage of resource, skilled resource to make this reality. He said he deals with part of the infrastructure of the grid. And he said that he has currently 12 years worth of work to deal with these infrastructure upgrades, right? That's on his desk today. And he said that if he doesn't recruit by 300% over the next 3 years, right? That's a massive increase in his team. That he's looking at, this future outlook in terms of their backlog, then that 12 could become 20 quite easily.
Well, dear me.
And I'm sure that is not an isolated thing.
Yeah.
So that goes back to smart infrastructure that is able to take energy and deliver energy without destabilizing the grid. That is the biggest challenge. Because what everybody wants is to go, yeah, okay, I have a compelling commercial reason why I'm going to invest in this technology, and I don't have to worry about planning telling me I can't do something. Don't have to worry about someone else. Because again, it costs money to get to that point.
Yes. Yeah. It's the upfront cost that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I suppose the other thing I have to put to you around this net zero green agenda stuff is that I can't remember who the politician was who said green crap. And what they were referring to, of course, was it's expensive. And the simple argument against net zero is, in terms of a net zero drive, is, look, India and China continue to pump crap into the atmosphere. It doesn't really matter what little UK do. So what would your answer be to those skeptics?
I mean, look, the data backs that up. You can't get away from that. The US, China, etc. They are very, very heavy emitters. That's not going to change anytime soon. However, we've always been a country that has been seen to do the right thing, and we're still doing that with the green agenda, and it is the right thing to do. And not only does it support that net zero agenda, but if you follow the true principles of net zero, we're going to have better insulated homes, better ventilated homes, and we're going to create healthier environments for everybody. If you look at some of the unfortunate incidents due to poor quality housing, if you follow the principles of net zero, that won't happen. Because again, you're going to try and build as close to an airtight building as you can to maximize, minimize heat losses and so on. And, you've got to ventilate that then properly. So these things like mold, damp, and so on, if you do it properly. Obviously, we know that is a major, major task to do that with the housing stock across the UK. And we aren't directly involved in domestic installations, but obviously we keep an eye on those trends. There's an area of design called Passive House, which follows those principles. It's very heavily controlled, the environment within a building, very energy efficient, but also the quality of air and environment in that building is also.
And the argument, of course, that Ed Miliband and the like make is that the medium-term economic benefits out of this are huge, but it's that initial investment, isn't it, that you were talking about, Simon? And you've got to somehow be able to facilitate that.
Yeah, and again, it all starts at the educational stage. We've got to go into schools. We've got to show that actually engineering, built environment, is actually an interesting, dare I say it, sexy place to live and work. The impact that you can have on society, whether that be commercially or domestically, from being an engineer or an architect and so on, a designer, is massive. And we've got to try and show that there is real benefit to be taking this as a career, as opposed to everybody wanting to be an influencer or whatever. But it's a tough ask. But
you need to start getting engineers doing the stuff that they do onto TikTok, right? And it's like, look at us, look how fantastic we are.
Yeah, and again, and also a challenge, isn't it? Because a lot of what we do ends up in a nice box, and then it's like, look at this, box, and then trying to get across, this is what's going on inside the box. You have to be wired in a certain way, I think, to go, well, what is in the box? And certainly, as a kid, I was destroying my Scalextric set because I wanted to understand what drove it. It took me a while to actually be able to rebuild it. Well, that's kind of what started my engineering career.
That's how you got there, yeah. So tell me about some of the interesting projects that Avrenim are involved in at the moment.
We're working on a repurposing and refurbishment of an acute hospital in the northwest over in Rochdale, creating 2 new theatre suites with a dispensary area. Again, supporting their patient outcomes, their throughput by delivering this facility. That's involved literally everything. It's gone back to the brick wall, new drainage, new doors externally, new access ramps, all that kind of stuff. Not only, but then the very smart technology of the ventilation that has to go in there to enable it to be a theatre suite. So that's at that end, through to refurbishing the toilet and corridor areas of Sefton Park Farmhouse.
Interesting.
And again, that they all have their different challenges. Sefton Park's a very popular building, so it's a very narrow opportunity to make work happen. So you've got to be on it and right.
Yeah, fantastic venue. As you know, we go there on an annual basis for our awards dinner. So in terms of the other stuff that would interest you guys, I'm just interested in the process, Simon. Do you have to go knocking on doors to win work, or are people coming to you saying, can you help? And I'm thinking, I suppose, that, I look at this agenda that everybody's talking about, and as I said in my opening remarks, somewhat flippantly, but I was half serious. Local governments have got targets. Central governments have got targets. Every local authority leader I listen to, every mayor I listen to will tell me how committed they are to this agenda. And so I would think that people are saying to you, how can we make it easier? What are the sort of rules that we can start to implement at a procurement level to start to get some of these projects moving? Is that not happening yet?
Not on as great a scale as you would imagine, given the 2030 agenda targets, so on and so on.
Yeah.
Like you say, everybody's got
here, right?
Of course. I mean, it's literally around the corner, isn't it? It's there before you know it. And every business has those targets as well, because you have to then plug into that. Including ourselves. We have to monitor what we're doing to support that as well. So no, we go door knocking. We are scouring portals where larger consultancies are working on larger schemes. And then we'll evaluate, is that something we can get involved with? Is it too big? Is it too small? Is it too complex? Or is it worth it? And then, of course, we will have, through relationships, it will be, you need to speak to these guys. And generally they are the better customer to have, because they know they need to do something. They know what steps they kind of need to take, and it's about us filling in those gaps. I've never been amazed at the lack of data that a lot of customers have to understand how they're actually using their buildings today. And we've worked with a number of customers to actually build that data set for them over a period of time to say, from an energy perspective, this is how you are utilizing your building. This is what you can do differently. You can do the practical things first. You can do these passive things first. Then your energy burden goes from here down to here. And then we can put that technology solution in, as opposed to starting at the very beginning and going, you just need this big box. And we get to a smaller box, and then, we give them menu options, because again, it's all capital hungry, unless you can get funding options, which we can help with as well. But not every organization wants to do that. In some cases, we're in a great position with a couple of our partners. We can turn up to a customer and go, how would you like an energy efficient system that gives you free energy or reduced cost energy at no capital outlay? And at the end of 15, 20 years, it's yours.
Which is, you'd think, as I said, people would be banging your doors out. I'm sure they will.
But again,
it's that education piece you mentioned, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and it's that commercial risk in that business as well. In today's world, 15 years is a long, long time. You don't know what you're going to have. Ukraine, COVID, this is still a theme through the business world. I think, that
uncertainty.
Yeah, that longer term outlook that used to be there has now shrunk because of the what ifs. Because some of those what ifs became really real, didn't they, in the last few years?
Yeah. For most of us, yeah. So listen, I want to finish on this note, which is, you just telling me before we came in, a solution that you came up with in the northeast of England. And it demonstrated to me the opportunity around this agenda and the work that Avrenim does, and the challenge also.
Yeah, indeed.
So, without giving anything away in terms of the people you were talking to, tell me what you went in, looked at, solution you came up with.
So it was a solution within social housing. And again, there was an opportunity with, a significant number of units, 1,000 plus. And we devised a high level, a scheme whereby if you reduced a few units, you could create mini energy centers. And again, you've got that then turned into, for me, a wider social value context. So not only was it supporting the net zero agenda, you're then promoting better social outcomes. So you could give cost certainty to all of those tenants in those units. They would know with confidence that their home was going to be heated, lit, roof over their head, and we also built in connectivity. So again, from those households that are, internet or connectivity deprived, energy poverty, etc., it could eradicate that. And then you could work with central and local government that you deducted the costs for this at source, and that any remaining funds to those tenants was theirs. They knew what they had. They weren't worrying about having to run down to the shop and particularly, in some cases, pay a premium for energy, which everybody should be entitled to.
Yeah.
It's a right, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Just like water.
Yeah.
And in the end, the commercial model didn't stack up as well as the social model. And that's where it stopped. Now, I think, you and I were touching on this briefly before, that with the housing push now and so on, with new development social housing, that's prime for developing these schemes in this way, and actually delivering real positive outcomes for the, generally the most disadvantaged within society. That's what it's about.
And that's a fabulous opportunity for a new Labour government, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they should seize it.
Yeah. You've got to find some incentives to make the commercial case as well.
The commercial element stack up.
Yeah.
But again, for me, it was around, it works from decarbonising energy security for those tenants, and then the social outcomes were just a massive benefit.
Yeah.
And it can be done.
Yes. And if people want to have a conversation with you, one of your colleagues, Avrenim, how do they go about doing that?
They can reach out on the website, which is avrenim.co.uk. All of our bios and everything are on there, case studies, and through contact us, and then it will just get filtered to the right person in the team, whether that be design, net zero specialism, me for a general chat.
Fantastic. We'll put all those details in the introduction of the podcast. great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks
Pleasure,
for spending
Frank.
some time with us.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Simon. That was Simon Harris, the Group CEO of Avrenim, and the latest of our Meet the Member series. Thanks for joining us in the downtown den. Hope to see you all again very soon.